Okay, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I have an amazing special guest today. I guess all my guests are special, but this one's extra special because I have the amazing Emily Wardrop, otherwise known as Drop the War Life Coaching. Or I don't know, that's who you are, like as a coach. Anyway,
on Instagram, right?
yeah. This is a great intro. Anyway. I'm super excited because we met at Mastermind. So that's kind of the convention for life coaches to come and get inspired, meet other people. And we just met on the plane ride home and had an amazing conversation. And it was just a lot of fun. And so ever since then, I've been like, yeah, you're awesome. So I think you need to be on the podcast at some point. So for all my wonderful listeners, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I was going to tell that same story. So
You can go ahead.
I thought that was a fun conversation too. And I've always been like, whoa, Caleb is awesome. This is so fun. So yes, I'm Emily Wardrop, Drop the War Life Coaching, play on my last name. I help moms of young kids drop power struggle wars, drop the war in their own head, drop mom guilt, all the good things. And especially I want every mom on the planet to believe that she is a good mom. So I don't know if you have moms listening, maybe you have future moms listening, dads. We always forget about the dads.
Yeah, you got to include the dads.
Dads need to believe they're good dads too, but I can only focus so much. So
right. You got your work.
Apply it to whatever gender you are, right? But if you care about kids and you want to have kids, then I believe that you are a good parent. Inherently, because our desires tell us who our true self really is. And so if you have a desire to be a parent, then you already are a good parent. I'm going on my rant and rave already. I was supposed to introduce myself. Hold on, let me step back. So what am I doing? I told you who I coach. You want my backstory?
Yeah, what's your story? Or how did you get into being a parenting coach and wanting to tell everyone that they're a good mom?
Yeah. So I always wanted to be a mom. I was one of those nerds. When you're a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was on the news when I was a freshman in high school because we were class of 2000. So they thought, we'll follow the class of 2000. And I'm on there, on the news in Knoxville, Tennessee, going, I just want to be a mom. I'll go to college for the experience, but I just want to be a mom. And I went to college for the experience and still didn't get married. I went on a mission, came home, thought I'd get married right away. Not so much. I came out to Utah to find a husband, thought this would be a good place to find a Mormon husband. Not so much. So I was not a mom as soon as I thought I would be because I couldn't find that dang husband. But as soon as I did find him, we did get on it right away. And, and ever since then, we've just been having babies. So I have 5 kids my oldest just turned 8. He was baptized a couple of months ago. And my youngest is 9 months old. And it is crazy. So I always wanted to be a mom. Yeah. And then once I was a mom, it was not really like living my dream. Some days it was more like a nightmare. And so I was like, what is the deal? And so that is when I found life coaching that really, really helped me because I had no idea where my feelings came from. Your listeners probably know that their feelings come from their thoughts, right?
I always remind them, but yes.
Okay. I'm everyone needs to know this. So I found out where my feelings were coming from. That was half the battle. And I've been working on that for years and years and years, but I still never had that last piece where I believed that I was a good mom. I thought that what I did made me a terrible mom, right? Because if you yell at your kids, you're a bad mom, right? That's what I thought. I think that's what most people think. Yeah. And that's why I have a job because that's what we all think. But hold on, I'm getting on my rant and rave again. What are we talking about?
No, you can go on your rant and rave.
Okay, it's about time, right? So yeah, I finally realized I am, those 2 words, it's a name of Jehovah in the Old Testament, right? So I am is, when I say I'm a terrible mom or I am impatient, I'm taking the Lord's name in vain. He is not impatient. He is not a terrible mom. He's no mom at all. Right. But God made me, God is good. I am good. The end. Dead stop, mic drop. That's it. That's all there is to it. We come to earth and we're mortals. And so we're imperfect and we do a bunch of stupid stuff. And that's why we have the atonement. And that's part of the plan. It's not in case they mess up. It's God knew that we would be down here messing up like crazy. And there's nothing that makes you mess up more than being a parent. It's like,
Yeah.
you learn when you're a kid, I'm a child of God, and you believe it. And then in young women's, you're a beloved daughter of God, and you believe it until you start making mistakes. And then you're like, oh, wait, I'm terrible. I'm an awful person. I'm horrible. No, you're not. You're still a daughter of God or a son of God. I'm like looking right at you.
Yeah.
All the people are children of God, right? And we forget that because we think that what we do is who we are. What we do is just what we do. It's something else. Who we are inside is who we are.
Yeah.
And so I love to use I don't know if this story is even true, but you know how they say they asked Michelangelo how they made the amazing statues. And he says, I just chip away at the marble until David appeared. Right. And so I feel like I am David inside that marble. And there's lies, there's limiting beliefs, there's cultural stuff, there's the way I was raised, there's everything. It is my marble that's like blocking me in. And I think that's who I am. I'm not that. I'm like a perfect, beautiful sculpture underneath. Right.
Right.
And so that's what I do as a life coach is I help people shed the marble and believe who they are inside. So when I believe I'm a good mom, is it okay if I just rant and rave forever?
You keep going for a little bit. I'll interject.
Okay. So when I believe I'm a good mom, when I have a human moment, like I'm all stressed out and I take it out on my kids, then I know that I still am a good mom. It's like, I just freaked out at my kids and I am still a good mom. Then it like helps me keep perspective, instead of like beating myself up and I get even more and more and more down in the trenches of the negative emotion. But if it's like, I feel impatient right now, not I am impatient, right? Because there's no such thing as an impatient. There's not like a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I am a daughter of God and I feel impatient. It's just a feeling. And we know like feelings are not a problem that you need to fix. You just feel them through and carry on with life, right? But when we make it a problem, then we pile on all the problems on top of that.
So, and then you also don't start showing up the way that you want to.
Exactly.
With your kids, because that's just like piling that on top of yourself is like, I've just seen it in my own life, is that you just start not showing up the way you want to. And then you get on your own case, and then it only makes things worse. And so, I love this beautiful idea of like, it's just about like being you, that you exist beyond all this. And I really wanted to hit on the point of like, you aren't what you do.
Yeah.
Like that is, I think us as young people, like that's like all we think about. Or like in high school, that's how I was like programmed to think, basically, like just because that's how I enjoyed it. I liked it, like, oh, if I do this, if I do really well in school, if I get these grades, like that means I'm successful. That means like I am doing well in my life. That means I am good. Like I'm a good student. I am good. I'm all these things. And when that image starts to falter, or more importantly, we start to falter under that image because of the pressure.
Yep.
And then like we begin to think that something is wrong with us rather than doubting the fact that it's just the image that we've created. It's the marble, so to speak, as you said, that we've encased ourselves around, and we're saying, well, clearly we aren't worthy or good because of this thing, rather than saying like, no, we've actually just made it mean that like what we do is our worth, rather than what has always been true is who we are as children of God, or whatever you choose to believe. Find that definition of worth and ground yourself in it. And that is actually going to do far more for you than grounding yourself in, I'm worthy because of my works, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so funny because Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School, where we both certified, right? She teaches us this. She teaches us that we're 100% worthy, that we're 100% valuable, that there's nothing you can do to make you better. And then I'm like, well, then why are we coaching people? Like, isn't that the point of self-help, is to try to get better? And so that like dichotomy in my head, like never made sense. And I always grew up knowing that I was a child of God. And so I knew that I was 100% worthy, 100% valuable. I'm like, why does life coach have to teach me this? Didn't I learn this at church? Like ever since nursery, right? And so, but it was just jiggy in my head until I finally kind of like clicked it together. And I don't know if I'm explaining my click very well. It's like who I am just is, like the end. And then what I do, what my kids think about me, what other people think about me, what my mom thinks of me, like none of that is who I am. Like I just am good. And my identity it's like I said at the beginning, like your desires is who you are, right? And so if you desire to be, what was it in high school that you desired to be that kind of gave you your identity?
Oh, I mean, I
We're good
desired
at
to
it.
be, I don't know, like good student. I had
Yeah.
like good grades, or just like
Yeah.
even good at the violin. That was like my whole thing back in the day. So
Right. And then when you give it up, it's like, wait, who am I then?
yeah,
So yes, you were a good student because you made good grades, but it's more like you desired to be a good student and that's who you were. And when you believe that, then you made good grades. But then as soon as somebody else made better grades than you, then your whole identity comes toppling down. But it's like when we believe that we all are good because we're all sons and daughters of God, then like we can all lift each other up. It's not like the competition that kills each other's identities.
yeah. And then
And
we lose comparison out of that, and then we lose all the drama in that as well.
yeah,
Like no one can, I mean, obviously we will still probably get hurt from people, but those are just feelings. They can't hurt us, or they can't impact us unless we allow them to. And it can't, like, it doesn't mean anything about our worth, what,
exactly.
other people are doing,
Right.
even though that's like everything we think about.
Or what they think of us. And of course, we've heard that only sociopaths don't care what other people think of them. So that's not really the goal, is to 100% not care what other people think.
Yeah.
Or like, of course, the compare and despair is always going to be there. Like it's just part of our more mortal way our brains were programmed for some reason. Probably because opposition in all things, right? Like,
yeah, we got to learn.
and yeah. And anyway, it's all part of our learning and growth, and it's all good. It's just something we got to figure out.
Yeah. And I think the important distinction is making it clear where your worth is, because that's going to ultimately make already these, pretty difficult obstacles in your life a lot easier to go through, and because you're going to be on your side rather than attacking yourself. Like that's the only thing we don't need. Like you're going to have hard feelings, you're going to have hard experiences. Like parenting is, I imagine from your perspective, is not easy. But like if you are on your side, it's definitely a whole lot more possible, rather than, well, like might as well attack myself during all these hard things.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Like I always say, well, lots of life coaches say this, but I always say it for sure to moms: you cannot beat yourself up better. We think we can. I don't know where we got that, because it never works. It has never worked. It doesn't work. And so all the self-compassion is where you get quote unquote better, right?
Yeah.
But really it's just getting back to who you really are.
Yes.
It's not like I'm here and there's this elusive perfect mom out there, or perfect person, or whatever it is you're trying to be, that's like good, or whatever. And it's like, I have to get there. There's no there. Like your potential is already inside of you. And when you believe that, then you can just shed all the other layers that are keeping her from showing up. It's just, yeah, it's just magic. Like it's hard to explain, but you really, and it's actually as simple as the model, right? That we learn as life coaches. Because believe, where does that go? If I believe I'm a good mom, it's a thought that I keep on thinking, right? Is what a belief is. And so when I am a good mom is in my thought line, guess how I'm going to feel? Guess how I'm going to show up? Like you said, you show up better when you think that. And then my result is that I am a good mom, right? So it's just that simple. It's just working the model. When I think I'm a good mom, then I am a good mom, right? Believe to achieve, right? In my elementary school slogan or whatever it was believe, achieve. I'm like, I did not get it until 100 years later when I met a life coach. Oh, no, I get how you believe, right? Or the little engine that could, right? I think I can.
Right.
And like whenever my kids say I can't, I'm like, all right, then you can't. Like, I can't help you if you've already decided you can't do it.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, I'm not going to force you to do that.
Yeah. And if you think you can't put your seatbelt on, then all right, I'll put it on for you. And when you're ready to believe that you can do it, then I'll teach you how, because then you will be able to. But when you put that mental block by saying you can't, then you can't. You're right.
Yep,
good luck with that.
That's amazing. I love that. So we've already kind of dived a lot into it, but I love asking this question anyway. And so if it's like a little bit more emphasis on the same thing, more nuance, or something entirely different, let's go for it. But what do you believe is like the one thing that you've implemented or learned that's changed your life completely that you like think everyone listening needs to know, or like needs to begin doing now? What is this thing?
I am a good mom.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, we'll
I mean,
talk
it's
about
kind
it
of
some more because
revolutionary,
it's the
right?
thing. It's the thing that changes everything. So I'm doing a webinar on Friday. I highly doubt this is coming out before the webinar, but I'll do more. And I call the webinar "How to Be a Good Mom," because everyone wants to know how to be a good mom.
Mm-hmm.
But the secret, I'll tell you, is you already are. That's the one. That's the secret. That's the thing that you got to believe. So if I want to be a good student, believe that you are a good student, and then you will become a good student.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the future self-work that we do as life coaches,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't like thinking of it as my future self, because that feels so far away. Like I already am.
Yes.
And I
It's
can't
already
even
there.
tell you the magic that happens. Like when I think I'm a good mom, I get over it faster when I lose my temper. I get over it faster when my kids lose their tempers. It's just like the magic sauce that I just drizzled all over my life. And all of a sudden everything is where I thought it should be. But I was like digging around and I can't, so this is where we usually teach people as life coaches. We're like, you're a 50-50 mom. You're a good mom and you're a bad mom. You're a terrible mom and you're a great mom. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to be a good mom more than 50% of the time. Like I wasn't having that. And so now I believe I am a good mom and I do a bunch of crap. And that doesn't affect who I am. Yeah. You are not what you do. You are not how you feel. You are not what your kids think of you. You just are. And I was going to say, I don't know how else to explain it, but my other analogy is like the acorn and the oak tree. Yeah. Like you don't look at the little acorn and be like, you're such a terrible oak tree. Right. Like you just know it's like all the potential is there, but it's not like potential in like a discouraging way. Like you're not there yet. You got to get better. Like you are who you are right now. And that's great. And yes, there's learning and development and growth in this life. And that's what it's all about. But yeah, you can't beat up that acorn to make it grow. You gotta nourish it with the self-compassion and the grace and
it's a potential that's inevitable. Like you simply just allow it to do what it's doing, like it will occur. Yeah, that's already its destiny. And so I think that's like for each and every one of us that like have a desire in our lives, especially I think for a lot of us, like we all either want to be parents or we are in the beginning of parenthood, or maybe you're well along the way. I don't know where you are, but I think that's a big desire when it comes to family, and wondering if they're going to be good enough, or going to be ready enough, or like capable. Like just especially with the overload of information that we have in like what it means to be a good parent or not. And a lot of people complaining about like how their parent and childhoods like were terrible. And not to say that there definitely are. I mean, these are just thoughts, but like that's definitely like a truth for these people. And so it can be kind of overwhelming and like anxiety driving for a lot of people to be like, I've felt it before where you're like, well, how am I even going to be a parent? How can I do this? It can seem really overwhelming. Yet I love this idea that you're bringing about by just like reaffirming what is already true about us, the truth about us being naturally inherently good no matter what. Therefore, it is an inevitable that we'll be exactly the kind of parents we're supposed to be, which is good. Yes. Good for our children, good for our families, good for ourselves. And even if, you're not in that stage of family, apply it to the other thing that you want to be. Like you said, I want to be a good student. Like you already are a good student. Now let's just see where that inevitability is going to take you. Like right now in my job, it's really easy to be like, well, I'm not good at this. Like, of course I'm not good at it, but right. Yeah, exactly. Like it's the acorn. Inevitability is going to happen. Why sow the seed of discouragement and doubt at the very beginning when all that's going to do is corrupt the seed, and you're ruining your potential. That's what ruins potential. It's not you. Yeah. It's the doubt that's created. It's this influence of disbelief. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so many thoughts while you were talking, but two things. So I love that you bring up, because I think that a lot of people are scared to be parents, right? And legitly so, like it's the real deal, right? Yeah. So people always ask me as I was adding more kids, like which one's the hardest transition, like from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 or whatever. And I always say from 0 to 1. Like when, in fact, getting married was really hard too, because you go from being a single person who just takes care of themselves all the time to having to coordinate like where you want to eat for dinner every day, or like what you want to eat for dinner, whatever. Even better if you're going to eat at home, good for you. But yes, like every decision has to be like coordinated with another person. It's the real deal. And then on top of that, you are 100% responsible for another human being. Like it's legit if you're scared to do it. And it's even scarier when you see all the content out there. Like I was all about like reading the parenting books like they were the scriptures. And this one says you're supposed to do this. And this one says you're supposed to do that. And I'm like, how did this? I called my sister who had like 100 kids already. And she's like, throw those books away. Like we know how to parent our kids inherently. Like God gave us these kids because you're the perfect person for them to raise, and the perfect person to mess them up in the perfect ways. Like you just have to believe that you will not be perfect. You will not be perfect. You are a good parent, but you will not be a perfect parent. And that is what your kids need. Like if we were supposed to be perfect parents, then the scriptures would tell us exactly how to do it, but they don't, because we have to learn how to use our own intuition, follow the Holy Ghost, do what's right for our own family. So that expert who knows about getting babies to sleep, maybe she does, but she hasn't met my baby, and she hasn't met me and my family and what's best for us. I have. So I know what's best for my family. So any of your listeners who are scared to have kids, feel the feels. Like they're legit, it's fine, but it's just a feeling. You can feel scared and do it anyway, right? Be brave. And then trust that God will help you, because he made you, he's going to help you make those babies, and it's all going to be exactly the mess that it's supposed to be for everyone's growth and learning. And then the other thing I kind of really leans into that is, I call it a divine algorithm, is how, like, I guess I already said it, is that your kids and you are like so completely individual, like every single person. It blows my mind how every single person is so individual.
Yeah.
And then you have the exact experience in this life that you're supposed to be having in this life. And the way your parents messed up you and the way you're going to mess up your kids, it's all part of the plan. And when you can trust in that, then you're not like so paralyzed by fear that you don't know what to do, and you are seeking out the experts to tell you how to raise this baby. There is one book though, if you have people in the baby phase, called The Happiest Baby on the Block. It's like, let's figure out how to actually physically take care of a baby. That's important. But then once they're 3 months old, good luck. Like after that, do, whatever you feel like is best. And yeah, you can read the blogs and listen to the podcast and whatever, but don't use it to beat yourself up. Again, you'll never beat yourself up better. If your baby is crying and you are like, I'm not supposed to go in there. If I go in there one time, then she's going to think I always go in there and that she'll never learn how to sleep. And we catastrophize the crap out of life. We're like, they're going to be under a bridge because they're not like eating vegetables, like whatever it is that we're making this stuff up. It's like, let's just slow it down, get present. What do I want to do right now? Do I want to go in there and help that sleeping baby? Do I want to make this kid eat his vegetables or not? Like, I don't have to do what my parents did. I don't have to do what my mother-in-law thinks I should be doing. I just do what I feel good doing and trust in that. And then you will be a good parent because you are, and also because like you will even be doing the things. And it doesn't matter what anybody else looks like at the park. That mom can like raise her kids however she wants, and she can judge you for raising yours however you're doing it. And of course, you're always going to feel that a little bit. But when you have your own back and knowing like, I am good and I'm doing the best I can and I'm messing them up just in the perfect way, then those are the thoughts that have helped me anyway.
I love it. I think this is, first off, an excellent perspective. And I think a lot of people are going to really appreciate this because, one, I mean, I have no expertise in any of this. So I think it's just like, yeah, like this makes a whole lot of sense. I just love the whole idea of embracing the scary. I think that's just a big thing that like, just comes down to it. Like, I don't know what previous generations have gone through. Basically, we're always told like they just did it. Yeah. I'm sure they had lots of thoughts going on. And so that means that like, I really want to reiterate the idea that you are not alone when it comes to your fear or whatever is scaring you or whatever you feel like you're being held back in, especially if you're not alone in like doubting your worth, as we can talk about as a parent, or just who you are, or this idea, even if you are ready to like get married and start a family or figure out your life. Like we haven't even gone into the idea of like, maybe you don't even have a partner perspective, but like, I just love this idea. Like, you aren't alone in that. It's so easy to think like, I must be the only one thinking these thoughts. I must be the only one who doesn't know how to take care of my kids or like,
Mhm.
or feels like they're doing a bad job, when in fact that is everybody's experience. And
Yep.
we're all, it's kind of programmed in our brain to think that.
Mhm.
I think it's an experience we all are meant to have, because one, it helps us learn, it helps us to grow, it helps us to, I think we can reach out from it. We're like, oh my gosh, I got to get some help, or at least talk to someone about it. But I
Mhm.
really think, like, on a religious, for me, a religious level, it helps us like reach out to the Savior and feel what it's like to be like in his shoes just a little bit, especially, being a parent alone. That helps you like feel like God in a sense of like having children and what it's like to be like, yep, I'm going to raise you. But at the same time, you get your own life. You get to
Mhm.
choose what this life is.
Yes, that's a
And
whole nother podcast for another day.
yeah, I know we don't want to
Agency
dive into that.
parenting, that's what I call it.
Yeah,
Just
it's just, but the real point I want to emphasize from what you were saying is, one, you have a lot of great advice, which is wonderful. But two is just recognizing that like you aren't alone.
yeah.
You aren't alone in what is going on in your life and in your thoughts and in your feelings, especially in your feelings. If you feel like depressed, anxious, scared, totally okay. All
Mhm.
these thoughts, okay,
Mhm.
totally fine. If you hate your kids, that is
Mhm.
totally fine. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom
Right.
or dad or whatever.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't
good.
know if you have anything to add to that.
Oh, so much. But um yeah, I just was thinking about when I was single, if I was listening to this, like what would I want to hear?
Yeah.
I like how you said the inevitability when we're talking about the acorn and the oak tree, So if you have a desire to be a mom, you will be. And you don't know what it'll look like yet, but it is who you are because you desire that. And it's inevitable. And so if you want to be married before you have kids, like then you have a desire to be married, like it's inevitable. Like you need to check
Mhm.
your thoughts and see how they're creating your current reality and change your thoughts in order to get the reality that you're meant to have. Like if you have that desire, sorry for all the likes. um, if you have the desire, then that is who you are and it's inevitable. You just gotta get a coach to help you figure out your thoughts to make it show up in your R line, right? And go
Yes.
on 100 dates. Right?
Yeah, that works. I mean,
Or-
on it, it'll work. No, I love this idea. I think this whole conversation coming to like a summation around the idea of inevitability,
Mhm.
and by basing your worth on what's true, what's the truth, which is
Yeah.
like that you are a son or daughter of God, that you have these great, amazing desires, and that you are honoring them by believing in them and by believing in yourself that it is inevitable and it's totally 100% true. It's all going to come from down to your faith, to your belief, to your thoughts, specifically what is going on in your head. What is the story that you are telling yourself about, whatever stage of life you're out, as yourself as a student, yourself as in dating, yourself in married life, yourself as a parent, in all stages. It's just the truth. And yes, plug, you should definitely get a coach to help you with that. It changed my life, and like that, I can't go back to like looking at my thoughts on my own because it wasn't working. I thought that's how you did life and it just wasn't working. And it's so clear to me to see now you need help looking at it. And there's lots of ways you can do that. You have to figure out for yourself, find what works for you. But just to be honest, I think life coaching works. So
Yeah. And even coaches need coaches, right? Like dentists need dentists.
100%.
There's no
Oh, that's funny. I like that.
And then the other thing I was going to say about fear is a misuse of your imagination. So if you're sitting around in anxiety, imagining your future, being scared of it, then consciously redirect your brain to come up with whatever you want. It's your imagination, right? You can imagine your future however you want it. It doesn't matter where you are right now. Like maybe you're not married, maybe you don't have kids, but you can imagine the most happily ever after, and then you can make it happen because you've already created it spiritually in your mind. You've thought about it, you've created it. Now go make it happen. It's not going to happen when you just sit there like using your imagination the other direction, like imagining the worst case scenario in parenting too is really important, because our brains go crazy as moms, like that kid is about to, like, and then you can see the blood and gore and all this in your head, and you're like, no, that kid is just fine, and you take the knife away from him or whatever,
Yeah.
and so just use your imagination intentionally to create the life that you want to create.
Yeah, you have control over your brain, therefore you can choose. Obviously, there are gonna be moments when it just feels like you don't, and you're kind of helpless, and those are gonna be difficult. But it's always about reminding yourself exactly what you said. You have control. You can decide. Like, what if we imagine the other side of the spectrum of the positive and what is possible and what's exciting and amazing, not just this doom and gloom that is so easy to fall into.
You can be sitting in your apartment. Let me just give you an example. And you're like, I'm going to imagine walking out the door and walking over to a restaurant and getting food all by myself. And then he walks in, like, and it's like a TV moment where we both know that we finally met the one. And I just knew I was supposed to walk over to that restaurant right at that moment. Like, be a movie creator of your own life. You really can. And then if it doesn't happen that way, that's fine. Like, make up something else, until what you want happens. Because when you're focused on what you don't want, you just get more of what you don't want.
Yes, exactly. This has been amazing. I have loved this. Is there any last minute things, touch ups, wrap ups you want to address before we kind of close this amazing episode?
Well, what came to mind is just cut your mom some slack. She did the best she could. She is a good mom. And she also is an imperfect human who tried her best. And, you learned a lot of good lessons from her imperfections.
Yeah. You are exactly the kind of person because of her. Yeah. You never want to go back on who you are.
Yeah.
And it's totally because I love that. Well, yeah, let's finish that. Thank you to all of the moms out there.
Yes.
Helped us become who we are, and we're exactly who we're supposed to be. And I'll include the dads there too. They did some help. They did some good. They're good. Yeah, I love that. Oh, yeah. Tell your mom and dad you love them and thank them, forgive them, whatever you need to do. And I don't know where you are in your relationships with them, and obviously respect the boundaries that you have. But yeah, I think communicate that to yourself, because it's going to do a world of help for yourself.
Yep, for sure.
Thanks, that's a great plug. Anyway, okay. Where can people find you? Tell us all the details.
Okay, dropthewarlifecoach.com is my website. So go there. There's all sorts of fun stuff. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Drop the War Life Coach. And that's all you gotta know, I guess. Yeah. So I think this episode is gonna come out this week. So if you want, if you hurry, you can, it's How to Be a Good Mom webinar is happening this Friday as well. I bet it's gonna be great content. If you miss it, I'm sure Emily's gonna be doing lots of other wonderful things. Go check out that website, Instagram, or share it with someone basically that is probably in the thick of it when it comes to parenting. I know all of us probably, even if we're, single, we don't have kids, this is going to be a great episode to refer to, but we all definitely know someone who's like, oh my gosh, they need help as a parent, or they're just, they're struggling with support. It's not, you may not feel like you're in crisis, but like you said earlier, you probably feel alone because you get together with your mom friends and you complain about the kids a little bit. And so you feel a little better that other people are going through the same thing. But if you're tired of mucking around with your friends, then a life coach can, get you out of the muck. Or just listen to the content and you'll see I'm in the thick of it. You are not alone. So yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you again. This has been a wonderful episode. Thank you for being on the podcast and sharing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Caleb. Anytime. And we'll see y'all next time.